Going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here at MattyFish33. If you've been here before, can't thank you enough for your continued support. Couldn't do these things without you guys. And if it's your first time here, please like, subscribe, share, click that bell, get those notifications, follow us along on this cichlid and fishy journey. So in today's video, we already did a predator hap / peacock setup pro tip video. And I'm kind of going to do the same thing for our MBUNA and Victorian setup right now. So that being said, let's dive into MBUNA Mountain. Also, please watch this video and understand what I'm saying in this video. But if you want to see a full setup on how I redid the scape in this tank and really got it going, go check out the creation of MBUNA Mountain video. It's a little long, but I promise you guys, you get to see from like A to B everything that I'm going to explain to you in this video, or at least in terms of scaping for that matter. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive into today's video. So as I said, I like to refer to this as MBUNA Mountain. As you guys can see, we kind of got a little mountain going on here. There is egg crate on the bottom of this. As I stated in my other video for hap and peacock setup, egg crate will be your best friend when you want to put actual rocks or stone in your African cichlid aquarium. It's going to keep any stones from creating pressure points on the glass. Also very important, when you do install egg crate, lay your scape right on top of your egg crate before you put the substrate in. That way you can see all this digging that these guys have done since I redid this scape. There's even some more here, as you can see. All that digging that these guys have done, nothing has shifted because I laid my scape down and then put my substrate back in. So, that being said, a very vital, important step, especially if you are using egg crate, and I would not recommend doing it without egg crate unless you're using very lightweight, very flat based stones, because again, you do not want to create any pressure points on that glass. Creating a pressure point is going to create a weak area, and I think we can all guess what the results of that might end up being. So I can only promise you, I rather would not say it out loud, but I think you guys understand where I'm going with this. I can only promise you that it likely is not going to end well if you try to do that way. So let's talk about these rocks. Just as I said in our other pro tips video, with all African cichlids, hard water, higher pH, things of that nature, your fish are going to be much happier, right? So what is the main difference here in the MBUNA setup? Well, as you can see, we have quite a bit more condensed structure here. And, obviously the idea behind that is so that these fish can kind of dig in and build caves, and everybody can kind of have their own little space. So, like, one thing I'll show you real fast. Let's see, they usually will do this. And I'm sorry, guys, it's a little cloudy right now. We fed not that long ago, so that's why there's some kick up and it's a little bit cloudy in the water. But anyways, let me show you what I was going to say. So you can see all these caves, everything that's built all in here. So watch this. If I turn out the lights on this aquarium, guys, everybody's gonna kind of go down. Now it's kind of hard to see because right now I have our light over here in the jungle in our cube aquarium, but typically at the end of the night when I turn all these lights off, these guys are all gonna go down into the rocks and settle in for the evening. And I mean, you've seen all the fish that were here. Like, they almost disappear. So for those of you that don't think there's a lot of structure in here, I promise you there is a lot more structure than what you can actually see. So just to put that into perspective, this tank is 31 inches tall. So this structure rises up about 15 inches approximately from the bottom of the tank. And again, just as I said in our other pro tips video, if you're using real stone, like I said, egg crate underneath, but also important, using real stone, if you're doing cichlids like MBUNAs, Victorians, haps, peacocks, whatever, if you're doing African cichlids, it is okay to use stones such as limestone, granite, those things that are going to help buffer your water in that sense. Raise up your KH, raise up your pH. But, you know, obviously, like, if you're doing this for a regular tropical fish setup or a South American setup, try to use a more neutral rock that's not going to mineralize the water and provide those qualities to it. But let's get back into the heart of this video. So, setup and design, right, guys? So, there are two ways to do these setups for African cichlids in regards to filtration. And obviously, in my Hap and Peacock tank, we have two FX6s, and there is not a sump on that tank. However, in this tank, it is not drilled, but we have an overflow box, and we are running off of a sump. So this aquarium is, excuse me, I'm sorry guys, I had a bubble. This aquarium is 112 gallons, the top tank, right? So 4 foot by 31 inches by 18 inches deep, okay? So under here we have approximately a 29 gallon sump. It doesn't run all the way full. It probably runs with about, I'd say 16, 18 gallons of water, a little more than half of capacity. Reason is because what I discovered is this sump also works better at this level 1. And 2, when I have had it up here before, this is kind of weak. So I did get this sump secondhand. It was nice and clean when I got it. Not sure how many years of use it was in, but as you guys can see, there is a little bit of give to this. So eventually maybe I'll brace it and we can run it higher. But this works just fine right now. Right now, what I have on here, also I do need to clean this sump. There's quite a bit of mum in this sump. Now, it's not harmful by any means. It just can restrict the flow. Right now, it's not. Mostly, I just squeeze out this pad that you see on the top here. And obviously, we have our pothos growing out of different areas in this sump. This one, I'm trying to get it to recover, brought it over here. And I need to kind of clean the side of this sump. It's kind of something I don't do very often because it's down here under the tank and you don't see it very often. However, back to what I was talking about. So currently right here, it's going to be a little difficult to see, but let's see if I can get it over here for you guys. So this is our pump for our return. This is a CICHLID 3.0, and if I remember correctly, wide open it runs around 900 gallons an hour, but with our travel, we're probably more like 750 in terms of flow per hour. So our return comes out over here. And then also, in addition to this, right now we have this power head right here, and this power head is 1975 gallons an hour. This is an older power head. I just kind of had it layered around when I set this system up, but you know, it does the job, and eventually I will change it out for a more streamlined power head. So right now these guys have about approximately 800 gallons an hour of flow from the sump, and they're getting almost an additional 2,000 gallons an hour of flow coming up here, and you know, moving everything along the top, so to speak. One thing I will say that I'm not quite as happy with in this setup, that eventually I'm gonna do, I've been saying it, probably said it in several videos before, but eventually I'm gonna get a smaller canister filter, maybe an FX2 or a 407, something to just have some more water polishing quality to it. Because guys, as you can see, look at all the particulate in the water. It's been about 40 or so minutes since I fed these fish, and there's still quite a bit of particulate in the water. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that, you know, the weir is so far up and this tank is so tall. So eventually I'm going to put some more mechanical filtration on here for polishing purposes. But this tank does just fine. Like, that's more of an aesthetic thing for me in that sense. Like I said, 29 gallon sump, lots of big bio, lots of plants growing in the sump. As you saw the pothos down below, I also have some pothos growing out of our return box here. And you know, like I said in previous videos, those plants will help pull nitrates out of the water and excess nutrient out of the water if it exists. It will just overall help your aquifer and your water column in that sense. So as I've said, guys, you know, these are mostly MBUNA cichlids. There are some Victorians in here. If you've been following along for a long time, you might know who those are. Our original Nairi right here, Pundamia pundamia. We have our piebald Nairi from Juma Point. And then we also have, that's Fry Guy, if you've really been following the channel a long time. He is a hybrid between our Pundamia Nairi and our female salmon hap, who's right here. So this tank does have females in it. Hasn't been too much of an issue for me in those regards. I mean, it's an African cichlid tank, guys, so there are some things that go on. And also, if you've been following along for a while, this guy is eventually, our Exochromis anogenus, our 3-spot torpedo, is eventually going to move over to the big boy tank once he is put on a little bit more size and mass, and he's getting close. He's probably approximately 5 inches, maybe a little bit less than right now. But I want him to get a little bit taller, get a little more shoulders before I put him over with our hawk and our buccochromis that are in that tank. Because like I said, and if you've been watching for a long time, you'll know that we tried that when he was smaller and everybody was smaller, and it almost didn't work out in a very bad way. But here we are, we're okay, and we're just kind of waiting until the time is more opportune and the size of these fish is more akin in that sense. But again, talking about the setup, guys, there are many things you could do with this setup, but as always, important, I'm a big proponent of overfiltration in cichlid tanks. I'm, you know, like I said, more biofiltration, the better off you're going to be. You can always regulate your flow and turn it down if you'd like, but these guys do prefer a lot of flow. And in all honesty, I could probably have some more flow in this aquarium, and that is another reason why I want to add a polishing filter eventually. But, you know, like I said, this works. It certainly does well. As you can see, everybody doing good. So in this tank, I do not have all of the same substrate as I do in my Africans, or in my African. These are Africans. What am I saying? Oh, mom and dad having a little argument here. But anyways, in this substrate, I do not have as much aragonite as I do in my hap and peacock tank. That is because I have a lot more stone in here. There's a lot of limestone in here, and granite aggregate that, you know, has a lot of limestone. So with the, you know, with the stone in here and it being a lot more than the other setup, because it's more of an open setup for your open water swimmers, there's a lot more buffering capability that this stone is providing to this system. This is just regular old black sand, and I think that I had mixed some aragonite in, but it's basically all hidden underneath all this black sand, and they haven't quite dug all the way down it. It wasn't a lot. But again, like, this water quality basically stays around the same as my haps and peacocks. It's a very similar water quality in terms of pH and hardness and temperature, etc., so forth, you know, just as you would with any other African cichlid setup. I think the main takeaway for this is with MBUNAs and more of your like cave dwelling type Victorians and things like that, such as the fish that I have in here, you're ideally just looking at a lot more structure to give these guys places to go, to give everybody their own little space that they can carve out for themselves, and it's going to help break up that aggression that can be associated with these guys. You know, it breaks up the line of sight, gives everybody somewhere to go. If somebody is getting harassed or tortured or anything of that nature, they have somewhere they can go and they can hide. And you know, there are some spots in this tank, I know it's really kind of hard to see, but there are areas inside this substrate where some of these smaller fish that are in this system can access, but the larger guys that are a little more aggressive, like our bumblebee, for example, who's been the boss forever and ever in this tank, can't get to them, so that they can go and get away and hide if there is any type of aggression that arises. So, you know, again though, these guys, they get fed differently than our haps and peacocks. These guys have a little bit less of a protein-based diet, or actually quite a bit less, because you don't want them getting bloat, and they are far more susceptible to bloat through excess protein than say your predatory fish will be. Again, this stocking list in this tank, I've kind of been like filtering some fish in and out. At one point this kind of became the tank of misfits, or you know, if you will, and now we've kind of been moving that around. So obviously we still have a couple females. If you guys do remember though, I did get rid of 3 female peacocks that were unknown. I kept our female obie, our strawberry peacock female, and our salmon hap female. Those are the known females currently in this system, and so far it's doing okay as such. Haven't really accrued a major issue from any of that, other than the time when our salmon hap was holding that strawberry here, shortcake, our strawberry peacock cichlid. She was having a bit of a rough time because I think she wanted to be a part of the action, if you will, but our salmon peacock, or our salmon hap, she just was not having it. And even though she was holding eggs, she was really kind of battering on her and stuff like that. So that's why, you know, if you remember back, we had that fish in quarantine for some time, but now everything doing all right in here. And beyond our bumblebee cichlid, I think that you know, the major a-hole in this tank is actually this guy right here, our orange blotch zebra. And this guy's name is Two-Face, if you can guess, or if you've seen before. He has that name because most of his markings are on one side of his body. You see how it's kind of like split down the middle right there. Almost looks pure on this side with the exception of a little bit of marking. And then you come over here and check that out. But, you know, we've been monitoring him. He's doing better. His aggression has declined a little bit as these guys have gotten bigger. So he hasn't been too much of an issue. But I still think there's some fish that are going to move around in this tank, right? In my opinion, my husbandry in this tank in terms of stocking has not been quite as well as it has been with my larger predatory African cichlids. You know, and this is kind of something that needs to kind of get moved around a little bit, so to speak. So, you know, if anybody wants to share in the comments below if they think that I should get rid of our bumblebee or our big Maylandia, like I've been thinking for a while, I kind of feel like we should, just so that we can see some more color out of some of these smaller fish, and it gives somebody else the opportunity to beat a tank boss, because those fish are, especially the bumblebee, because he's going to get the largest out of anybody that is going to stay in this tank permanently. He's almost forever going to be the tank boss if he just stays in here, guys. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments below. Again, we are starting a series of pro tips and setup. So, you know, this is just the first part for this tank. But again, if you want some more perspective on how this layout was done and, you know, everything that went into doing it, go check out the creation of MBUNA Mountain video. And until then, guys, also, one last thing, guys. I created some playlists, so for those of you that like to binge watch, check out our new playlists. And, you know, you might see some things you might not have seen before if you're newer to the channel, or you can go back and relive some of the highlights that you had in your time following us along here on the channel. So, until then, guys, I will see you in the next video. Matty Fish out.